What's up, people? It's another edition of the NuBreed podcast, the world's best new metal adjacent podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm on half of your hosting duo, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how's it going?
Oh, great. Just
Tim, what is going
wonderful.
on with the weather, dude? Well, it's right before Memorial Day, and it's like March outside.
Yeah, somebody called it sprinter today or some shit.
It's not wrong. That's not
Oh, it,
wrong.
it was it was Mike. He
It's
tagged me
not
and said
wrong.
it's sprinter.
It's sphincter. Yeah, not close, right? Not wrong at all. All right, everybody. So we're actually doing this is a full-on new metal episode. Next couple episodes in this series are going to be all about new metal. So the topic is we've had a lot of conversation in the show about the different first wave, second wave, third wave of new metal, fourth wave, what started new metal, what's killed new metal. Tim and I want to go into the weeds with the third wave stuff because whenever you go on r/new metal or whenever you get a bunch of new jacks talking new metal, they're always talking about the stuff that came out late. So what I did is I built a playoff bracket. So we're going to do 8 bands on the side. We have the Indigo Ranch bracket, and we have the what was the other bracket that I did? Was it the Mike Patton bracket? I forgot the name. We have two different brackets, 8 bands on the side. What Tim and I are going to do is we're going to go through each one of these albums and we're putting them in a playoff layout. So you can see that for the artwork in the show. And we're going to do a couple more episodes where we do semifinals and finals, and then we're going to get to the big final two hoo-ha. But out of the third wave new metal bands, who had the best debut album? Because this is all debut albums. I'm going to start it off by quoting Tim back to him. Tim made the observation, 16 of these albums, and he said, and they're all major labels. So
Yep.
these are all on Columbia and RCA and Atlantic, and which is kind of nuts if you think about it.
Yeah, it's like I was listening to like the playlist and then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna branch off to the records and like see what songs I like on them. And then like I look on Apple Music, it's like all major. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like this is when major labels tried to cash
Yeah,
in on new metal and it didn't
yeah,
work.
they were absolutely trying to make some money out of this and cash in on it. Yeah, with the Indigo Ranch conference and the Supercharger conference. My bad, my
Okay,
bad.
there you go.
So what we did is we took a random assortment. I took a random assortment of 16 third wave new metal bands. So this is late Ozfest. This is 99 forward. And we ranked them randomly against each other. And we're going to see out of all these bands, which one had the best album. Before we get started, I got to give a shout out to Orion. I did send my bracket to him and say, okay, how is this? Are these tough matchups and who did I miss? And I'm going to give Tim and I a little bit of credit. Orion came back and said, yo, these are kind of tough. I don't know how I would pick some of these. And then he said, do you want me to expand it to 32 bands? And I said, no, man, because then we'll end up doing like 9 episodes worth and we'll never listen to new metal again because our ears will be burnt out. So,
Definitely.
just as a call out before we get started, shout out to Archspire. These are in no particular order. It's not 1 verse 8, 2 verse 7, 4 verse 5. It is just two random bands tied up against one another, and we're going to compare. And Tim and I will pick who advances. This episode, we're just going to do the first round of the Indigo Ranch conference. The next episode, we're going to do the first round of the Supercharger conference. We'll do one episode in the middle, which is going to be the semi quarters and semis, and then we will do one final episode of the two bands that who vie for the title of the winner of the third wave new metal. We'll even call this May Madness because we're doing this in May. All right, Tim, are you ready to talk some serious third wave new metal?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first matchup we have here, first band, the band is Orlando, Florida's Scrape. And they are up against the Apex Theory. So let's talk about Scrape for a bit. Were you a fan of this band at all when they came out the first time, Tim?
I thought I was until I listened to the record again, and then I was like, "Oh, this is bad."
Uh,
Let me say this: it's not terrible. It's not good though. I hate the album cover. It's fucking awful looking.
See, I actually think that's what stood out to me. I remember not. I remember having I think I had a ripped copy of this album. Um, but I just remember saying like a toenail. Like
You're like,
what?
what the fuck?
That doesn't make any sense. Um, but I remember hearing a song or two. I think I had a ripped copy. I went back and listened to this. You know what? I don't think this is bad per se. I think you can obviously tell and by a copy I mean a Xerox. It's a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, right? You can
Mm.
tell it's third wave. You can tell their influences are um are definitely the bands that came earlier.
Oh yeah.
The funny thing is the drummer of Scrape toured with Stuck Mojo.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you look at Snap and Next, the Snap and Next EP, or you look at Pig Walk, those are probably, I think we talked about those in our proto nu metal episode. They were nu metal before they even realized what they were, you know? The
I
the
love
rap
Pig
with
Walk.
Bonds. Oh, Pig Walk is a great album. Falls apart in the second half though. I'm not gonna lie. Falls
Did
apart in the second half.
did Devin produce that?
Uh let's see here.
Why do I feel like Devin Townsend produced Pig Walk? That's a great record
I
though.
think he did. I actually think he did. Ulrich Wild did Scrape. Let me see who did Pig Walk. Here we go. Pig.
That's another thing with all these records. They're like
Yes.
big time
Uh,
producers.
Devin Townsend and Daniel Bergstrand, who did
Dang.
Meshuggah.
Wow, that's a good
God,
duo.
how did they land
Where did
that
they do that at in the UK?
one? It doesn't say.
I'm
So
assuming
here we
that's
are.
where they did
We're
that.
going up to the side already. Pig Walk. It doesn't say where they recorded it.
Hmm.
I just remember Rising coming out and being really disappointed. Okay, so first in this bracket, we have Scrape with New Killer America. So this comes out in March 2001. This was on RCA Records. It reaches 157 on the Billboard 200, 100,000 plus sold United States. Two
Wow.
singles, 35 and 29 on the U.S. mainstream rock charts. Top in 2001. So I will also say this, Tim. The other thing that a lot of these bands have in common is you can tell that this was labels trying to grab that Korn, Deftones, Limp Bizkit, nu metal sound, but find something that's milk toast enough that
Yeah.
can go on the radio. A lot of this stuff could have been on the radio at that time.
Yeah. If all this stuff came out in 2006, you probably hear a little bit more of it on the radio.
Yes, yes.
This
There's
is
a.
like 2006 before 2006, in my opinion.
I know we use the term butt rock, but it's proto butt rock, right? Proto that stuff, that whole Chevelle Godsmack Disturbed that ended up on the radio.
Exactly.
So first in the bracket, we have New Killer America by Scrape. This is March 2001, going up against Los Angeles, LA's own, The Apex Theory. And their album comes out, the album name is Topsy Turvy, and it comes out in April 2002. What did you think of this album, Tim?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
I thought it was absolutely terrible. I don't like it at all. I listened to like 5 songs. I was like, I can't anymore. I can't do it anymore. It was ruining my fucking workout. I couldn't do it.
Did you at least get through Hope Diggy?
I don't.
Hum
I
Diggy it
don't.
up. This is it. So this band that
I'm glad I didn't. If I didn't.
so this band they were known for playing Mediterranean influenced music. They were all from the band themselves are all from Armenian Americans. So the one guy's name, I'm going to butcher these names, but that's fine. That's fine. It's Antronic Kachatourian, Turian, Art Karamian, David Hakopian, who was also the first drummer and bass player of Soil and System of a Down. And they added Sammy Watson. I guess they found one American guy. So they said they described their own sound as heavy Mediterranean groove. So I will say this: if System of a Down wasn't a thing, these guys probably get a little bit more attention because it was unique. It was unique. It was a bunch of Armenian guys. The video's kind of wild. He's like, flying all over the place. Not terrible, but unique for the time, unique for what they were trying to do, but it doesn't hold up well. It doesn't hold up well.
This is Adam Orthodox's second favorite nu metal band right here.
By the way, also major label DreamWorks did the first
Yeah,
album.
which is fucking wild.
Yes, unbelievable. Don Gilmore produced. So
Now I know why I don't like it because I don't like System. So When I was listening to it too, I was like, it's just goofy. Like I just don't like it.
Uh, it kind of is. Not gonna lie, it kind of is. Uh, eh, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
eh.
This is back when you had to pay $20 for a CD, so I never bought it. I like the one song when I'm like not enough to buy this. So, Tim, Scrape, New Killer America versus the Apex Theory, Topsy Turvy. Which one wins? Which one
Scrape.
comes out of this line matchup? Scrape.
Scrape
Okay.
because they actually have some songs I could tolerate and actually kind of dig.
Okay. And I would agree. And I actually went down the Scrape rabbit hole, did both of their albums, and not bad, man. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say it's not
not bad at
bad.
all. Not terrible. Not great.
All right. So now we've got another new metal lineup. There's some bands with a little bit more notoriety here. First one is from Louisville, Kentucky. This band was signed to Universal. This is Flaw and their major label debut, Through the Eyes, 2001. What you think about this, Tim? Here we go again. Like,
So, all right. So I know this record. I know this band. I haven't heard this record in, ooh, I couldn't even tell you how long.
mm-hmm.
I put it on and I was like, okay, not bad. The next song, I was like, oh, that's bad. And the next song, oh, that's good. Next song, oh, that's really bad. It's kind of like a off and on record for me. Like there's some good tracks. There's some really, really bad tracks though.
I would
But
agree. It's very much up and down.
yeah, it's like a roller coaster of emotions, whether you like it or hate it. I don't hate it though. I don't love it either. But there's some killer riffs on this record. which
Yes.
which is which is funny because as we go through, there's some killer riffs on a lot of these records. It's just I think that a lot of these bands, not to like talk shit, I'm not talking shit. There just wasn't as much talent in these bands. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, again, back to what we said to start this episode. This was major labels swooping in, trying to find anybody that sounded remotely like what they were looking for
Yeah,
because they wanted to sign it and hope that it popped. So I
yeah.
remember this was one of these late night I couldn't sleep. So I had the TV on to MTV because back then they actually played videos, and when you couldn't sleep, you just put it on and let it cycle. And I remember seeing the video for Payback, the girl with the muddy feet running through the woods and stuff. And I remember thinking, this isn't bad. Like that chorus riff got some chug to it,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna. And I actually think they ended up on the Triple X soundtrack as well.
I can't remember. Isn't this the band where the dude was spouting off the N word on stage like 2 years ago?
No, I think that was Trapped.
I think it was this band too.
It could be. I mean,
Trapped
Jesus.
is garbage.
Let me see.
Garbage.
No, I don't think it was them.
I could have swore the singer was like spouting off the N word on stage.
Well, apparently Voles has the lead singer has a drinking problem. Um, oh God, there's a plagiarism claim in here. Another lineup change. Yes, Voles used Rachel slurs at a concert.
West Chicago
what is with people?
in 2021, he used
Yes,
Christopher Vols,
yes.
whatever, drops the N word on stage at a show at the Social Club in Chicago. That's a bad place to be saying the N word, buddy.
It's like doing it in Camden or Detroit. Like what?
What are you thinking, man?
Obviously, he's not thinking. Well, drugs are a hell of a thing. So,
Yeah.
the beginning of this matchup, we have Through the Eyes 2001 from Flaw going up against Cape Coral, Florida. I guess Cape Coral, Fort Myers. Shout out to my dad. My dad's down there. Twisted Method with their debut album, Escape from Cape Coma. Tim, I'm going to start before you dump the bucket. It's this. So to describe this for people who haven't heard it, it's kind of fast, very rappy, very rappy. There's some moany parts in it, some Chino-esque channeling. My biggest complaint with this is the guitar is so buried, it's just mud. And
Yeah,
if you listen to it,
100%.
you can't. The production is terrible.
It's
Like
not good.
it's not good. It's
I
not good.
I thought when I was listening to it, like on my Apple app, I was like, "What?" It's like, is something wrong with my headphones here? And then like I skipped back to another one. Went back. I'm like, Nah, this sounds like shit.
Yes, it is. It is terribly,
Very mid
terribly
focused.
produced.
Yeah,
Yes.
very mid focused. Ugh. I will say though, I kind of compare this to the Flaw record where it's a roller coaster of songs because there's not bad songs on this record either. But there's not great songs either. So I
Right.
mean, it's like I was listening to it and I'm like, I don't like this was the hardest one for me. I'm not gonna lie. This was the hardest one to pick for me. This is the one I had to go back today and like, let me make sure that I have this correct.
Okay.
I did that like when I got home from work earlier. I was like, before I send this email, let me just get this in my head real quick. And then I picked and I was like, I still don't know if it's the right one, honestly. Because I think
Well.
both records are comparable where it's just a roller, it's just up and down. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, because the Flaw record honestly is not produced well either. That does not sound good either.
No, but it's well compared to this, it's better than this.
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
mean, I mean, not for nothing, probably doesn't take much, but it's definitely better than this. I just found that the guitar was too muddy, which is funny because the Jason Slater produced it. He was the original guy in Third Eye Blind. He was in Snake River Conspiracy. He actually ended up passing, I think in 2020. But there was additional production done. They turned around and they sent it to Scrap 60 in Jersey. So this was Rob Caggiano. This is where a bunch of
Okay.
the E Town albums were done. So they did some additional production as well. I
Yeah,
just
but
not.
Second Coming sounds amazing.
Yes, this is well in a write up for this album. Somebody said, where is it? It's full tilt energy, sonic intensity. I don't get it. I don't get it. They said they don't copy the same old sounds of today's hard rock scene. I would argue that they absolutely do copy the same sounds from the hard
Yeah,
rock
what the
scene.
fuck were you
I mean,
listening to?
I'm not again, everybody has their own tastes, but yeah, this band was I think they were a one and done. I think they were done kind of after this. They did Escape from Cape Coma. Um, the band they were able to sign, Jesus, Tim, ready for this? A 5-year, $5.5 million contract. Jesus, $5.5 million contract.
New Metal
They
was
bought
paying, buddy.
they bought on to Ozfest 2003 for 75 grand. The album was supposed to be out in May of '03, but got pushed back because of MCA's merger into Geffen. So it got pushed back to July 2003. Their contract was transferred over to Geffen. The Geffen said, "Yeah, we're going to finance the second album, send them out on tour with Dope." And then they toured with Motograder. And then 2005, the band goes on permanent hiatus.
Oh, that's probably a good thing.
So yeah, somebody in the band passed away from drugs, and
Oh,
then
that's not surprising, and
they
it's
returned
not.
from a hiatus in 2012. They did a reunion show in Fort Myers, Florida, and 2014, and that was that.
Well, let's just say they will be on a permanent ban for my ear holes
Yeah,
for the rest of my life.
I'm never listening to this album again, ever,
No.
ever again. Okay,
So
so
it's safe
Tim.
to say that I picked Flaw.
Okay, same. Okay,
And
so we're
and
two for
and
two
and,
here.
and I'll tell you why I picked Flaw because there was actually some redeemable choruses in that record, and there's some redeemable vocal parts. In the Apex Theory, I think it was just one of them try hard records where it was just like, let's put this out, and we're
Yes,
gonna, you know what I mean.
I got you. I
So
got you.
yeah, definitely
Okay,
Flaw.
all right, so Scrape and Flaw advanced to the conference semifinals. Next, we have the second half, the bottom half of the bracket of the the Indigo Ranch conference. This one we're not going to talk about too long because we just did it. American Head Charge, War of Art. Uh, I go back to this album a lot,
Yep.
a whole lot. When I first did these brackets, I had a guess about what my two finals would be, and I think there's probably going to stay the same.
Yeah, I
Um,
already know
I
mine.
I think this album is great. I never got a chance to see them. The Ozfest they were at, I wasn't at. They opened the Pledge of Allegiance tour, and I wasn't inside. I was outside drinking with a bunch of buddies. I go back and listen to this all the time. I've watched this record release show on YouTube at least 2 to 3 times. It's damn good. I mean, they were third wave, but they were part of that small pocket of super heavy third wave nu metal bands. Them, Down the Sun, a couple of others, where they were really taking it into like a Slipknot-esque aggressive direction, which is wild. I think this album is really well done. The second album is not good at all, but I definitely think this is one. If you like nu metal and you don't like this band, I don't know what to do. Say for you.
Yeah, I mean it's a fucking great record. Let's get that straight. There's some
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's one of them out of the records we're gonna talk about tonight. I'm not gonna lie, this is the best record on here.
I think so. I would agree.
I there's one other one we're gonna talk about that I was super surprised with and I actually really, really liked. But yeah, this record's great. I know this record is huge in like the fucking new metal world right now.
Mm,
If I mean it's 225, yeah, like the last 3-4 years it's been huge. A lot of people loved it. I really enjoyed it, man. I didn't even really have to listen to it because I know it back to front.
yes.
But yeah, super heavy, great riffs, great chorus parts, great singing. I love this record.
Yeah, it's really, really well done. Now I know why a lot of people say that this band should have been bigger than they actually were. Uh,
Definitely.
but yeah, this is even though it's of the time, it doesn't sound of the time. It sounds like a good album that holds up.
Yeah, it's a little ahead of its time, honestly.
Yes, yes. So going up against War of Art by American Head Charge, we have Headspace by Pulse Ultra. Do you remember this band, Tim?
Yes, sir.
All right, give me some thoughts.
Yeah, I've listened to it. This is the first time I heard this record, and I couldn't even tell you how long. And I put it on, I was like, oh, I was like, I'm pleasantly surprised with this record. But then as it went, I was like, this took a huge nosedive.
Yes, after the first three or four tracks, it just goes
It
off a
just
cliff.
goes off a
I
cliff. Yep.
I describe this as the poor man's Chevelle.
100%.
Very much in that vein. They're more alternative than nu metal. They're from Quebec.
Yep.
Atlantic Records. Headspace came out in 2002. I'm trying to find how much money they got to sign.
These are all Steppa
Um,
buddies.
yes, yes. They met Taproot, who passed on some of their band. They appeared on Ozfest 2002. Yep. Um, the push failed to push them into the mainstream. Blah 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 blah. Okay, Tim, it's American Head Charge.
At 100%.
All right.
It's not even close.
No, no. I mean, maybe if I had rejiggered the brackets to put this band against some of the other Chevelle-esque bands in here, like I'm putting them up against some of the stuff that's in the Supercharger conference. I maybe it would have been a tougher decision, but putting them up against American Head Charge, there's no contest.
It's
There's no
not even
contest.
close.
No.
You could have told me before I even heard this record again. I would have been like, nah, it's not even close.
Okay, so we're gonna do the last two bands on
Are
this
we three for
conference.
three?
We're 3 for 3. And I think we're
Wow.
going to be 4 for 4. I actually think so. So we're going to do on the
Yeah.
last two bands on this
Yeah.
conference. Then I want to go back and ask some just questions about these 8 albums. So we got the bottom of the Indigo Ranch conference. First album is, I believe is it Cleveland? This is Roadrunner 5.0. What do you think, Tim? Joliet,
I
Illinois. Joliet, Illinois. Stand corrected.
so I'm familiar with this record, haven't heard it and couldn't even tell you how long either. But I put it on, I was like, yeah, this fucking rips.
I uh I remember being intrigued by this, never picked it up. This is actually not of a bad listen. Like very
Not
much
at all.
early Incubus, very much early Incubus. You can tell it's very much a blender sound of a lot of the other stuff that was in the first wave nu metal, but it holds up fairly well.
It's got a lot of rap core elements to it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this record. Production's good. Um, gets riffs are good, drums are good. When I was listening to it, I didn't really hear like a lot of Incubus parts. To me, it was more of like on the Primer 55 kind of side to me.
That's fair. That's fair. Very much the Primer 55 Reveille aspect.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
And that's why I liked it actually, because I was like, this is actually good, some good bounce riffs in this and all that kind of shit.
Yep. So
For
this is
when it came out, I thought it
2002.
was good, yeah.
Roadrunner, produced by Colin Richardson. There you
Yeah.
go. That explains some of it. This band, they were apparently back in the day, they were well respected. I think they did Ozfest. They did a year of touring and then they just broke up. I know that they were on the Resident Evil soundtrack. They got some plays on Headbangers Ball. I think there was like 6 or 7 people in the band. Was it? How many people was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So 3 guitarists, vocalist, bassist, drummer, keyboards.
Never got the 3 guitars thing.
Uh I get it for so I got it for Indication Strain when they did
Yeah.
3 guitars because it was ridiculously heavy. A Perfect Murder had 3 guitars at one point. Whitechapel still tours with 3 guitars, which I
Which
guess
is
if you,
crazy.
which is, I mean, if you're not going to layer guitars, that's the way around it. Is just have somebody play the other track. But yeah, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of dudes to put on a band on a van. We'll put it that way.
It's a lot of
I
people to split a paycheck with.
Yes. I remember the Ticketmaster lawsuit, the Ticketmaster Live Nation testimony, where they had some dude who was in a world band, and there were like 12 people in the band, and I'm like, my God, you want to make way to sell it and make it sound even worse when you split that $40 ticket, everybody gets like $1.87.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, right.
it's just terrible.
Here's your 6 cent royalty check for the month.
It's just terrible. Just terrible. Okay, so we got 5.0, Joliet, Illinois. The album was titled Untitled, right? It wasn't self-titled, Untitled. Kind of sloppy with my album titles tonight. Released in March 2002. Going up against, hold on. This one's a little rough. They were matched up against a band called, oh, please, come on. Hold on. Drum roll, please. They were matched up against a band called the Union Underground from San Antonio, Texas.
Can you just tell by my
Signed to Columbia. Signed to Columbia. Big label. Big label. The debut album is An Education in Rebellion. They did have that one single, Turn Me On, Mr. Deadman, which was in a bunch of different places. It made mainstream rock tracks. It was on MTV. It showed up in a whole bunch of different places. I think they actually played Ozfest. Yes, they did play Ozfest because I remember seeing them. Yikes. Tim, thoughts?
Absolute garbage. I'm sorry, this record sucks.
Oh, it's terrible.
Terrible.
So they played Ozfest
Terrible.
2001. This is my only notes is a poor man's cheesy white zombie.
A poor man's garbage fucking ugh.
Just not
Get away from me.
just not good. It was just not good.
This was the record I texted you with and said, why? Just why am I why? So bad. I went back today just to reconfirm it was terrible, and I was like, turn it off. It's terrible.
I have all these albums that are available on streaming. The only one which isn't, I think, is just American Head Charge. I have all these on playlists on Spotify, which I could share in the show notes. Actually, you know what? Our Spotify account is already in the show notes. All my playlists are public that I build for the show, and I put it on shuffle, and it is the equivalent of assault and battery on my eardrums. Because you'll get something, I'll get something good. I'll get maybe The Payback by Flaw. Okay, I know the song, not bad. Or I'll get something by Scraper. I'm like, okay, this isn't terrible, or 5.0. And then like the Union Underground comes on and I'm going, what?
Yeah,
and then one of the bands who's in the Supercharger conference switched to come on and I'll go, what? What? Did you listen to all those, by the way, in the other conference?
Not yet.
Okay, so we won't cover that one tonight. But yeah, we got fun stuff, people coming up in the Supercharger conference. But this band was one of those bands where I literally have ew on my notes.
Yep.
Like I this definitely is the major labels just chucking money at bands that they're like, hey, let me try and get you on. Like, let me see if this works out.
My notes are just the throw up emoji. Garbage.
Puke emoji.
If you guys are listening, sorry, not sorry. This record sucks.
I mean, hey, if you're listening, come on the fucking show, dude. Let's talk about it. So they were on the last Ozfest I attended, which is 2001. So listen to the second stage of Ozfest 2001.
Make sure you have this right. We don't need that.
Oh, I know, because the Ozfest Nazis will come out of the woodwork. So the main stage, so we can eliminate who you can guess is on the second stage. Black Sabbath, again, Manson, Slipknot, Papa Roach. Linkin Park, Disturbed, Crazy Town, and Black Label Society. That was the main stage. The second stage, Mudvayne, the Union Underground,
Yeah.
Taproot,
Mm.
Systematic, Nonpoint, Drowning Pool, Spineshank, Hatebreed, American Head Charge, Slaves on Dope. So it's only 2001, people. This is the last gasp of nu metal. This is it. This is the last big hoo-ha. And you know what? What does 2002 look like? Let's talk about 2002. Okay, 2002, they're still trying, but I mean, the headliners of the second stage in 2002 is Down, Hatebreed, and Meshuggah. Soil, Flaw, Third Strike, Pulse Ultra, Il Nino, Switched. Oh God, Switched. The Apex Theory, and then you have Mushroom Head, Seether, Neurotica, Lost Prophets, OTEP. The only nu metal on the main stage, it was System of a Down. It was POD, Drowning Pool, but then they canceled after Dave dies, and then Edema.
That was more nu metal on that one than 2001.
Yes, yes. And the final nail in the coffin is 2003. And a bunch of the bands that are in the Supercharger conference show up in 2003. But yeah, this was yay.
Remember Battle for the Ozfest?
Yes,
What
I
year
remember
was that?
That was, wait a minute. What band was that? Was that 2004?
A Dozen Furies won it.
Yes. Was that 5?
Actually, that band was actually not terrible.
Oh, it was 2005. That was the year. I mean, 2004 for me is the turning point. 2005, again, you're looking at Rob Zombie, Kill Switch, Bury Your Dead, Soilwork, Trivium, As I Lay Dying, Mastodon. So this is when metalcore, new wave of American heavy metal, The Haunted, Arch Enemy, Black Dahlia Murder. Yeah, this is. But yeah, so Tim, 5.0, Untitled versus the Union Underground.
It's not even close.
It's 5.0.
Yeah.
So coming out of the first round in the Indigo Ranch bracket, we have Scrape with New Killer America matched up against Flaw with Through the Eyes. The next matchup, we have American Head Charge, The War of Art, with 5.0 Untitled.
I'm just thinking, what if we picked a different record, though?
Oh,
because we're doing this. Oh, yeah, duh. It's stupid. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, and then not everybody has two. Like, I would love to switch it up. Okay, well, this band moves forward. Now let's change their album and see if it makes a difference. So, I mean, Scrape and Flaw, that's a tight matchup, dude. It's a tight matchup. And American Head Charge 5.0, that's not a bad matchup. It's not as clear of a runaway as one would think in either direction. But yeah. Yeah, so that's the first half of this. That's the West Coast bracket, which is the Indigo Ranch bracket. Why Indigo Ranch, everybody? You should know. Ross Robinson. The East Coast branch, I wanted to pick something that's not relevant to a particular band, so I picked Supercharger because that's Machine Head's trash nu metal album, and I figured it'd be funny. So on the East Coast, you know what? We'll give everybody a little bit of reading. The bands included on the Supercharger bracket. So prepare for your next episode, everybody. Print out your brackets at home. We have in no particular order.
We're gonna tell them.
I'm going to tell them who's in it, but we're not going to talk about. I'm not going to give them the matchups.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. We're not going to talk about We'll talk about the actual matchups in the episode. So this is bands like Switched, Reveille, Grade 8, Third Strike, Systematic, Unloco, Apartment 26, and Down the Sun. So that is in no particular order. The matchups are all randomized. That's the Supercharger bracket. So we'll be talking about that in the next episode. So Tim, are our ears ready to do another nu metal dive like this?
I'm gonna start it tomorrow and
just try and get it over with.
Yeah, because I work from home tomorrow, so I'll have that on the background. I'll just go through each record and I'll make notes, and then I'll go, ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. So May Madness, third wave May Madness, Nu Metal May Madness. I hope everybody's really enjoying this. This was kind of fun for Tim and I. I will share the bracket in the show notes if you want to download it and do your own matchups. Shout out to Orion again. He offered to take it to 32, and I said I don't think we could we could handle that. I purposely left bands that did achieve some sense of notoriety. For example, I left off Il Nino. I left off Primer 55.
Yeah,
These were some of the bigger bands of this third wave that, I mean, you can't put them on. They were ringers. You know, they would just crush everybody else. But yeah, this was I will say, considering the beating that I gave my ears, this was a fun dive into some of the other stuff. Now I remember why I ignored some of this when it came out, but now I also was reminded of, yeah, there was some stuff that, while not really differentiating itself, it wasn't terrible. It just didn't it so and I think, Tim, we need to look through the lens of the bands that came before this also poisoned our view of how we view these bands. It wouldn't
absolutely.
be so Scrape would not be so derivative if there wasn't so many bands with that kind of sound before them. You know, System of a Down doesn't show up. Apex Theory maybe is a little bit more interesting. Maybe 5.0 gets a little bit more attention if there wasn't so many bands doing all those experimental sounds that they had, you know, biting the Incubus stuff. So who knows?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I pretty much know who's winning this bracket, the whole thing. So
I have a rough idea, but I want to go through it and see where we land. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Let us know your thoughts if you disagree or agree. New episodes every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Reaction vids every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Start your weekend off right with us. Find us on r/NuMetal, NuBreed_podcast for both Twitter and Instagram, NuBreedPodcast@gmail.com. If you want to leave a voicemail to complain about this, 267-297-4627. We will see you next week. And until that time, it's Jay and Tim saying cheers.